It's Friday the 16th of January from the MEN newsroom. This is Channel M's Lunchtime News and these are today's headlines. Widening the road, the extra lane that'll soon be built on the busiest section of the M60. Also coming up, free money, the cash point in Stretford that's been giving out more than it should.
They've got more money than I'll ever have in my life, so share it. It's their problem, it's gone wrong.
Plus, we meet the couple who dressed as characters from a famous novel for their wedding.
The hat, the gloves, the boots, the shoes were exquisite with pearls all over them, weren't they?
Good afternoon. We start with news that one of our busiest stretches of motorway is to expand. An extra lane will be built on part of the M60. Several other stretches of road will also allow drivers to use the hard shoulder, as Kevin Duffy now reports.
Yes, thanks James. Now I'm standing on a bridge over junction 12 of the M60 where it joins the M602. Now under this funding package, which was unveiled by the Secretary of State for Transport Jeff Hoon yesterday, it's going to mean there's money to build an entirely new fourth lane between junction 12 at the M602 and junction 15 where the M60 meets the M61. But it's important to note that it's only going to be on the clockwise section of the M60, not the anti-clockwise section. Now, in addition to that, there's also going to be funding to introduce what's known as hard shoulder running. And that essentially means that when there is a lot of traffic on several major routes across Greater Manchester's orbital roads, there's going to be the use of the hard shoulder. Now, that's been used and introduced successfully already on other routes in the country, notably the M42 in the Midlands, where from time to time, according to the amount of traffic, the hard shoulder is brought into use as a normal motorway lane. Now, this work is not due to begin until the year 2012, and that begs two very important questions. Will the proposals set out by Jeff Hoon yesterday survive any change in government? Because, of course, Gordon Brown has to go to the country in the year 2010. And also, the economic outlook is gloomy indeed, and it begs the question, will these proposals survive any further deterioration in the overall economic picture? Back to you in the studio.
Thanks very much, Kevin. Let's check the day's other top stories now. And a woman's been found murdered in Stockport. Police were called to a house on Cromwell Avenue in Gatley at around 7:15 this morning. Following reports, a woman had been assaulted. They found the victim in her 40s with several injuries and she was pronounced dead at the scene. A man was later arrested close to junction 2 of the M60 and he's being questioned. A bank worker has been left terrified after having a machete held to her neck in a raid in Wigan. 3 masked robbers burst into the Lloyd's TSB on Market Street armed with the blade as well as 2 guns. The woman was forced to escort one of the men to a private area at the back of the premises. After stealing a large amount of cash, they made off in a Citroën Picasso that was later found burnt out in Swinley. The pilot who safely brought a plane down in a crash landing on the Hudson River in New York is being hailed as a hero. All 150 passengers on board the US Airways flight survived and were rescued from the wings and the water. The flight had just taken off from LaGuardia Airport en route to North Carolina when it's thought it struck a flock of geese, cutting power to the engines. 2 people from Greater Manchester are among 4 waiting to be sentenced for smuggling cocaine into the country. Drugs with a street value of £1.7 million were found on board a P&O cruise ship last October as it pulled into Southampton. Natalie Quinn from Rochdale and Calvin Hilton from Manchester both pleaded guilty last month. A Wythenshawe woman whose partner's being jailed for repeatedly attacking her, speaking out to try to get more women to come forward if they suffer domestic abuse. Helen McEwen was punched dozens of times till she says she couldn't take any more. This is what she looked like after one of the assaults. On another occasion, her partner tried to throttle her on the bed while kneeling on her arms. She says there was one time when she thought she was going to die. David Dawson was jailed for 18 months by a judge who branded his crimes disgraceful. Statistics show 2 women are killed by a current or former partner in Britain every week. A man's up in court accused of disrupting a flight from Manchester heading to the Dominican Republic on New Year's Eve. Grant Smith from Burnley was arrested along with 2 other men who've since been released after the Thomson Airways service was forced to divert to Bermuda. The crew had reported problems with some passengers. The 35-year-old's charged with interfering with the performance of a crew member. Now, what would you do if you turned up to the cash point, told it how much money you wanted, and it then gave you twice as much? Well, if you're anything like the people in Stretford, you'd have had another go, and another, and another, and then probably told all your friends about it as well. That's just what happened when a machine at Nationwide started spitting out extra money for 6 hours, generating a pretty big queue.
Apparently the cash machine was giving out double money. My friend phoned me and told me, so I'm waiting in the queue. My friend's boyfriend came and he was told that if he wants money, go and get it now because it's giving double out. So he did. He drew 30, then 30. For 60, he got 120. Admit that much interest. They've got more money than I'll ever have in my life. So share it. It's their problem, it's gone wrong.
Well, the bank's currently deciding whether customers should have to pay the cash back, but in previous similar cases, the money has just been written off. A council here in Greater Manchester is demanding action over a severe problem of pigeon droppings. Officials are literally ruffling feathers over the row with Network Rail about a pavement under a section of tracks. Here's Nina Warhurst.
Well, it might not be raining, but believe me, never has an umbrella been more necessary in Hazel Grove, because there's something a lot more sinister than rain falling from above. Yes, it's pigeon droppings. Around 30 of the creatures have settled in the railway bridge on Buxton Road, and they don't seem to have much regard for the good people of Stockport.
These pavements completely covered in pigeon droppings are not healthy. I've got an elderly population who live up the road. They're slipping, having accidents on this, and it's actually a health hazard.
The council says the problem arose 4 years ago when Network Rail removed pigeon netting from under the bridge after it caught on a lorry. And Kevin Hogg says he will not rest until Network Rail faces up to its responsibility and replaces the nets.
There are letters in the legal department ready for issue to Network Rail to get them to do this, because there is an injunction taken out by, I think it was Wandsworth Council, against Network Rail, which was upheld in the High Court and subsequently went to the Law Lords. And they actually agreed with the council that it was Network Rail's responsibility.
So you think this could go all the way to the Law Lords?
This could go all the way to the Law Lords. We are determined to get this sorted out.
In a statement, Network Rail said the council hasn't followed their invitation for an independent assessment, and that to their knowledge there wasn't a net there in the first place.
Well, I've got actually photographs of the nets in place and actually of them removing them. Why should the local community have to pay through the council tax to do this kind of job? This is Network Rail's responsibility. It's their bridge.
This is actually clean to what it normally is. It's really, really bad.
Every day. Every time I walk up here, it's filthy. You can't walk back in your house until you cleaned your shoes.
And just in case Network Rail's watching, a message from Councillor Hogg.
Get yourselves down here and get this pigeon poo sorted out, because you want us on our trains and on your railways. You don't want us falling on our backsides under your bridges.
Nina Warhurst, Channel M News.
Well, the Kaká saga goes on. Will he come to Eastlands or not? With the latest twists and turns on that and the rest of the sport, here's Sam Goodman.
Thank you very much, James. Well, transfer news has picked up today. Wigan manager Steve Bruce has said a £14 million deal is virtually agreed with Tottenham for midfielder Wilson Palacios. The Honduran has been at the JJB for just over a year after signing for £1 million from Deportivo Olimpia. Manchester United forward Manucci was joined Hull City on loan for the rest of the season. Hull are hoping to receive a work permit for the Angolan in time for Saturday's game against Arsenal. And as for the latest news on Kaká, AC Milan have given permission for the Brazilian to talk to Manchester City. The offer now is meant to be in excess of £100 million. Manager Mark Hughes stands by the amount being offered, as he feels it makes football and business sense.
You have to understand, it'd be naive of you to think that I wasn't involved in this process. I mean, it's a football decision. Myself, Gary Cook and Carl Doon have discussed targets for numerous months now. Obviously, Kaká was very much in our thoughts right from the outset. Obviously, the process has moved forward at a pace this week, but people shouldn't be thinking that it's just on a whim, that this is something that we thought of in the last week and decided to act on. It's been done with structure and with an understanding that maybe this is a situation that we could move forward. So we're all very much involved in that process. Myself from a football point of view, and obviously from a business and a club's point of view, that's where Gary and Carl Doon come in. But make no mistake, it's not something that's been decided this week and this week only.
Over to boxing, an English lightweight champion, Levenshume's John Murray, defends his title against Lee McAllister tomorrow night. And when we met up with him, he began by explaining what's in store for those fans lucky enough to have a ticket for the big fight.
I think everyone knows what to expect from me. You know, same aggressive, exciting style as always. But you know, I don't need to run my mouth off in the build up to the fight. I let my fist do the talking on fight night, and I'm sure he will again on Saturday night. These are the type of fights I want to be in. You know what I mean? When there's that much exposure around it, you know, the atmosphere and the night's going to be great. He's bringing loads of fans down. I'm going to have loads of fans there, and you know, these are the fights that I want to be in. This is what I started boxing for. So you know, I thrive on this type of thing.
You're looking more ahead to people like John Thaxton, aren't you?
That's right. Yeah, he's got the European title, and that's the next step on the ladder for me. You know, I've been the English, the WBC youth champion, now the British, and you know, the European title's the next one for me. And like I said, that'll give me a world ranking in the top 5 in the world, and hopefully about this time next year I'll be fighting for world titles.
Which round are you going to stop him?
I'm looking to stop him mid rounds, probably from 6 to 9, something like that.
Still happy working with Joe Gallagher?
Of course I am, yeah. You know what I mean? He drives me hard, and like I say, we was there on a track Christmas Day, and you know what I mean? He drives me hard, and that's what I need. You know, I need someone behind me who's as dedicated as I am, and Joe fulfills that 100%.
Well, opponent McAllister has been referred to by Murray as a fighter with a padded record, which is how brave Mike Bradley began his interview with the challenger at yesterday's press conference.
The verbals, as we say in the build-up to this fight, you don't look like a man with a padded record to me.
Thanks a lot, Paul. No, listen, everyone's got to go through the trade, and they've got to build up experience and all that. Same as myself, John Murray. Every boxer goes through it. So you've got to pick a right time to be picking the right fights and moving on to bigger and better things. And that's what I'm doing. I believe that John Murray is the best opponent and most credible opponent I've boxed so far. So I'm just looking forward to beating him Saturday night.
What do you think you've got in your armoury that can make you the first man to beat him? Everything.
I've just got the whole package. So I'm just can't wait for the fight on Saturday, and it'll all unfold. And you lovely people in Manchester will see what I'm all about. No predictions. And McAllister win, I'll do fine.
And in rugby, Sale Sharks face Munster in Ireland this evening in a game they have to win to stand any chance of progressing to the knockout stages of the Heineken Cup. It's a tall order, but coach Kingsley Jones believes his side have the abilities to spring what would be a major surprise.
It's nice to have a game that you're really looking forward to, and I mean that in terms of what an occasion it's going to be. We've got everything to gain, I think. We go there positively. We're under no illusion how tough it's going to be. It's going to be a massive occasion, and they're a great side, know how to win.
Their biggest asset probably is the forward pack, which is basically the Irish forward pack. You know, people like Paul O'Connell or Carl Hearn, you know, on the front row we've got likes of Hayes and Flannery, really, who don't get the credit probably they deserve in that pack, you know.
You know, and it's a really good atmosphere to play rugby in. They've had a lot of history, they've had a lot of good wins there. I think, you know, there's only a handful of teams that have gone down there and won, but we're definitely looking to be one of those teams.
Is it all over if you lose?
Realistically, yeah, you know, let's be realistic. Munster have got Montauban away, which I think they're smart enough to win. Montauban won't make it easy for them, but it'll be interesting to see Montauban's selection. We're putting our everything on Friday night. We've got to go there and win.
And that's all the sport from me for now. Join me again later on this evening, where I'll have all the build-up to this weekend's sport.
Thank you very much, Sam. More sport then from 5 o'clock tonight. On the way between now and 1 o'clock, more on the death of a former pop star from the 70s here in Manchester, and with money tight, stay at home or go abroad? That's one of the big questions at the Manchester Travel Show.
A lot of people are heading a little further afield this time, considering the price of the euro at the moment.
Welcome back to Channel M's Lunchtime News. We're here every day between 12 and 1 with all of Greater Manchester's headlines. You can always get them online as well at channelm.co.uk. On there right now, we've been finding out how difficult it is to find a traditional 100-watt light bulb as more and more shops ditch them in favour of energy-saving ones. And also take a look at our exclusive tour of a Royal Navy submarine where some of Greater Manchester's personnel are serving. That's at channelm.co.uk. Next, a former member of the 70s pop group Sweet Sensation from here in Manchester has died. Leroy Smith, who played keyboards in the group, was 56. He was found alone in his flat above the takeaway Chicken George, which he ran in Longsight. He was most famous for playing on the #1 hit Sad Sweet Dreamer. Joining me now is pop biographer and commentator John Robb. John, thank you very much for coming in this lunchtime. Just tell us how big this band were at the time.
Probably in Manchester in the 70s, after 10cc, they were the biggest band because Sad Sweet Dream was a huge hit. And also to hit in America, which is very rare for Manchester bands, because no matter how much we go on about Manchester being an epicentre of pop music, which it is in a lot of ways, but the bands don't really cross over in America very much. And they actually had a hit, a top 20 hit in America with that song. So it's a huge, huge song.
Were they just a one-hit wonder then?
Well, that was a massive hit. It's the one that everybody knows, because when he died, everybody could remember the song. But they did have like 2 or 3 other kind of smaller hits. It was a brief little blip. It was 2 years, but it wasn't like strictly a one-hit wonder. Is when you only have one hit. So you could say they're like a 1 and 3 half-hit wonders. Yeah, but they hung around for a couple of years, and then they came back to do Eurovision. That didn't work, and that was the end of the group.
And what happened to the group after that?
Well, Marcel King went on to record a single for Factory, which wasn't a hit either, but it's a very well-received club record. But then he died, and then his son got shot in a kind of shooting, like a gangland shooting. It's quite a tragic story. It's a sad story, and it's sad that they've been kind of forgotten. You know, the roll call of Manchester bands. You always get the classic Smiths, Joy Division, blah blah blah. But people always forget, Sweet Sensation, don't they? Which is a tragedy, really. One of the very few black Manchester acts as well to actually make it.
OK, thank you very much for coming in and talking to us about it on this sad day. Thank you. Now, money's tight for many of us at the moment, and one of the first things that goes is the annual holiday. Many people are trying to weigh up whether or not they can still afford to jet off abroad this year or not, and that's one of the questions being looked at the Manchester Travel Show, as Beverly Walkden's been finding out.
Well, no sooner is Christmas over, we're all thinking about sun, sea and sand. Well, what better place to come than the Holiday and Travel Show here at Manchester Central, formerly the GMEX. Now, here's the man to tell us all about the big destinations of the year. Where should we be going?
Well, I think the key thing is to go out and find out what suits your budget and what suits the type of things you like in a holiday, whether it's sun, sand, sea, skiing or whatever. So there's a huge array of opportunities here, but a lot of people are heading a little further afield this time, considering the price of the euro at the moment.
Now, is the euro suffering because of what's happening on the money markets?
I don't think so. I think Europe will always have its core customers, people who like to go to Europe and are very familiar with France or Spain or Italy. But undoubtedly the short breaks are a little bit tougher this year. More people are probably staying at home, going to destinations such as the Lake District or over to Yorkshire or down to the Isle of Wight. So, there's a whole range of different options for people.
Now, the best bargains for people, what do they want to be looking out for? All-inclusives, adventure holidays, what's the best buy?
Well, I think the best buy is to find something with an app to sign on it. So if you sit down and you speak to a tour operator, you understand exactly what sort of holiday you're going into, and any money that you're spending on your holiday is protected if you go with that. So I think that's probably the key thing to be looking out for.
Well, here's a man who is hoping to book a holiday. Tell us about your dream destination.
Well, it's Dubai, of course. We went to Dubai 2 years ago, and the place is just brilliant. Things are much cheaper than they are in the euro at the minute, and just hoping to get back there.
And you're hoping for a cruise because you're not too impressed with hotels at the moment. Tell us about that.
Well, the cleaning stands have just slipped, in my opinion, because they're cutting back on stuff because of the credit crunch and stuff. So hoping to go on a cruise because it's more cleaning standards are better. Yeah.
Well, thank you, John. Well, if like John you want to find your dream holiday, the show's open here from Friday to Sunday. Adults cost £8 and children go free. Back to the studio.
Thanks very much, Beverly. Now, as anyone who's getting married or has ever got married will know, what you wear on the big day is one of the most important decisions you'll make, apart from your choice of partner, of course. You want something special and memorable, and we've been to meet one couple who went for an unusual option, to say the least.
For most people, the choice of wedding dresses for the bride and suits for the groom in a shop like this would be more than enough. Just look at the variety of styles and even colours. But for one couple from Marple, they decided not to go for the traditional look, but instead went for something completely different.
I've always loved period drama, absolutely adored it. Whenever there's anything on the television, I want to watch it. And I thought with Lyme Park on the doorstep, it was just a great idea to go down the Pride and Prejudice road.
So for Denise and Stuart, it was period costumes for the big day, turning Pride and Prejudice into, well, bride and wedded bliss. For both of them, it was their second marriage. The two met through a shared hobby of amateur dramatics. Taking their inspiration from the characters Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy, they managed to get a hold of the original costumes that were used in the BBC adaptation of Jane Austen's famous novel.
In fact, the outfits worked out around £100 each. And that included the hat, the gloves, the boots, the shoes were exquisite with pearls all over them, weren't they?
I was impressed by the company because they threw in all the little extras as well once we'd tried the costumes and decided on like the major items, the trousers, the boots.
Stuart confirmed that he didn't fancy replaying the scene made famous by Colin Firth when Mr. Darcy jumps into a lake. To be fair to him, the wedding was in Disley at the end of December. And if you thought dressing as Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy was a bit off the wall, wait till you hear what the other option was.
First choice idea was a Beatrix Potter theme. So Jemima Puddle Duck, Jeremy Fisher.
And everybody that came to the wedding were going to be Peter Rabbit.
So, you know, I had to put my foot down and draw a line somewhere and that was it. So Pride and Prejudice theme seemed like a safe option in comparison.
Probably a wise decision. Ben Bland, Channel N News.
Well, Friday's been a bit brighter and milder than of late so far. Looking ahead to the weekend for us now is Billy Walker.
Well, we don't need a crystal ball to see that shorts and t-shirts won't be required today or indeed any time over the weekend. In fact, my top tip would be to keep those hats and gloves on standby as the temperatures are set to drop. Okay, today's outlook for the region goes like this. Showers, some bright spells expected and fairly mid-temperatures of around 8 degrees centigrade. You can see on the map there, highs of 10, lows of 8 degrees. Okay, throughout the day we're expecting strong winds and rain spreading eastwards, which may turn heavier over the hills, and brisk winds hitting western areas of the region. And rain is expected to be intermittent. Moving through to early evening and tonight, the rain may well hang around. Also, it will turn blustery, so be prepared for the possibility of these showers turning thundery in the northwest. That'll be us then. Here's how the next few days are looking. As I said earlier, probably not a good idea to store that de-icer away just yet, with temperatures reaching as low as 1 degree after the weekend. My summary, we're in for a cold and wet weekend.
You're watching Channel M's Lunchtime News. Our top story, one of our area's busiest stretches of motorway is to get an extra lane. The M60 will be expanded between junctions 12 and 15. More on that with Andy Crane from 5 tonight. But from me and the Lunchtime team, have a good afternoon. Bye-bye for now.
Sir. Oh, and by the way, you're going to lose your hair. They're devastated.